In this video, Jack is going to be getting a fringe with some nice clean edges. I'm going to be demonstrating clipper over comb, scissor over comb, thinning shears over comb, and also doing some carving through the top to give him some texture. So let's get started. We're going to start by taking a diagonal back section from the front recession at his temples to the top of the ear. And this gives a really nice shape as opposed to just coming straight across on a horizontal. This actually gives a really nice shape. So that nice diagonal back line is key to making this look really nice. So I'm going to start with my number one guard, and I have it open. So the tang is open on it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come underneath that with the guard closed. And this is going to give me a nice tight fade going into that. There we go. I am switching to my Velcro grippy. This works so much better. Should have thought about this first. So I'm going to use my all-purpose comb, and I'm using the fine teeth of my all-purpose comb to do this clipper over comb technique because I'm dealing with some pretty short lengths in a really small area. So you can see that I'm scooping, I'm tilting the comb out toward me, and then I'm making the cut. So the only thing that should be getting cut is the edge of that section. So scoop, tilt, and cut. Scoop, tilt, and cut. And this is just over and over again when you're doing a clipper over comb technique. The higher up on the head you go, the more the comb will tilt. So now to get the other side to match. Jack had a fade previous to this, so his sides are still pretty short, which is why these Velcro grippies come in handy and work so well. On the side I just completed, I did the number one open, then I went into the number one closed. I'm actually going to do it vice versa on this side. You can do it either way. It's really what you're most comfortable with and what you find easier to blend. So I'm doing the one closed, and then I'm going to go up a little bit higher with the one open. And now for the clipper over comb. So again, the fine teeth, I scoop, I tilt, and then I cut. Scoop, tilt, and then slide that right across. Just be careful when you're using your clipper, especially with a smaller comb, that you don't put the edge of the clipper past the comb, or you could end up giving him some stripes that he's not looking for. So now the sides are nice and clean, and he's got lots of hair at the top to work with. So we're gonna have fun with that when we get to that. But now we're gonna go into the remainder of the sides and into the back. So keeping that diagonal back line going, and we're gonna do it all with clipper over comb. So I'm gonna keep out my black all-purpose comb, and I'm going to scoop, tilt, and cut, keeping that line a diagonal back. So you can see that the angle that I'm holding the comb, I'm not holding it horizontal, but I am holding it on a diagonal back line, and that's going to give me that nice flow from the front to the back. Through the back hairline, Jack has some pretty wonky hairline stuff going on. So sometimes I do have to pull it down in order to get those hair because it's already growing up. So if I comb it up, I'm not going to grab it. So in around those areas, I do have to pull it out. However, just notice that I am only grabbing that little bit of hair on the edge. I'm not taking out big chunks of hair, always making sure that most of the hair is coming off at the edge, and then it's just blending up into the rest. So it's the same thing on the other side. Scoop, tilt, and cut. Scoop, tilt, and cut. Just over and over again until you get all those little pieces that you want to get. So now right at that very tip part, I am just going to go in horizontally, but the rest all done with that diagonal back line. Okay, so now I'm going to take out my large comb. So this is a really large surface area. So this is great for just blending. I'm not looking to take any hair really off through those sides. We want to keep some length through there. So I'm just using this to blend. So notice how far I'm actually tilting that comb out. I'm tilting it out a lot. I'm only looking to take out that little tiny bit of hair, hardly anything, just enough to blend what I did at the perimeter into the sides. The more you tilt the comb toward you, the less hair you're going to take. The more you tilt the comb away from you or toward the head, the more hair you're going to cut. As I come into the center, I'm going to be taking a vertical section. So it's going from that diagonal back into a vertical in the middle, and that really keeps it from going too square in the back. I really want to keep that soft line. So now we start to do some texturizing just to give it a little bit of pizzazz. So now I'm just sectioning off the top of the parietal ridge. So all the hair that's on the top of the head, I'm not going to cut. And I'm going to use my large comb and I'm going to do some scissor over comb. Same rule applies. I scoop, I tilt, and then I'm just taking out a little tiny bit. By using my scissors, I'm just going to get not quite as sharp of a line as I would if I used the clippers. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some point cutting. So this is going to make sure that I'm not taking any length, but I'm just going through and I'm softening up that line, just creating some texture. And to give it a little bit more movement, I'm just going to go in with my thinning shears over comb. So I'm lifting and then I'm cutting with the thinning shears. So by lifting, I'm creating some elevation, which again is just going to create more softness and movement through that area. It looks good. So now for the top. So I just want to create some texture. So I'm going to do a technique called carving. So my bottom blade is going to rest against Jack's head. And then the top blade is we're just going to wiggle it just a little bit. I'm making sure that the blade is staying straight. I am not angling my scissors whatsoever. If I angle my scissors, I'm going to take out a significant amount of hair, which I don't want to do. So I'm keeping them straight up and down, following the shape of his head. And this is just going to remove very, very little hair, but I'm moving in that forward direction. So I'm moving from the back of the head forward, and this is going to help to direct the hair from the back forward. So when he's styling it, it should make it a lot easier. And you can see I'm not losing a whole lot of hair here. This is just to add some texture and some movement to what he already has. So in the front, I just want to do a little bit of point cutting, again, creating some texture. Because if the hair is too heavy, it's just not going to do what you want it to do. It's just going to flop. So I'm going through from front to back, and now I'm just working from the front into the sides, just doing a little bit of point cutting. And then my texturizing shears just on those ends. There's so many different ways that you can texturize the hair to create movement. I'm kind of showing you a whole bunch here. Sometimes you'll use them all in one hit. Sometimes you'll just use one. It's going to really depend on the client that you're doing and the techniques that you're comfortable with. So now some polish work. I'm going to go through with my trimmer. And we're just going to edge out that neckline. Remember, when you're using a trimmer, you can see I'm using very light pressure and I'm not dragging the clipper down. I'm just kind of creating that line, and then I'll flip my clipper over to get any excess hair that's on the neck. If there's cowlicks or things that are causing that neckline not to go quite so straight, you'll notice what I did there is just take the comb, pull it down, and then you can just use your trimmer to glide over that. It's nice to use your trimmer as well to edge out around the ear. Sometimes it's easier than using your scissors, and a bulky clipper is probably dangerous with no guard to do it around the ear, so a trimmer is a good option. I am going to do a little trimmer over comb here at the sideburns, and that's just going to take them in a little bit tighter to his face. This is something that you should do on all clipper cuts, especially if they have, well, if they don't have facial hair, you're blending it into their skin. If they do have facial hair, you're blending it into the facial hair that they have. So this is a real key thing to do to make sure that the hair looks really polished when you're all finished. You'll notice a big difference, and so will the client. And notice that I'm also going on a diagonal back with this trimmer over comb action as well. Again, I'm following that line that I've already put in, and it just keeps that all moving in the same direction. So one way you can get this fringe to lay really nice and give it more shape is to use a round brush. I'm using a brush that's probably a little bit too big for his hair, but it does still give it that little bit of bend because he doesn't want it to flop down. He doesn't want it to go to the side. He just wants it to have a nice little flip at the ends. So you can actually take the brush and you can roll it right from front to back. That works as well. But I do like to make sure that I blow dry the back toward the front first. Otherwise it can get a little too poofy. I love getting my fingers in there, and I like to lift as I dry. I do find that this helps it to dry better, and it helps it not just to lay too flat on the head. And just a little bit of a cream pomade to finish him off. There we have it. He's feeling pretty good. He's liking it. So that's the fringe. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to learn how to do a fade, check out this video right here, where I show you all the tips and tricks of how to do one. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great hair day.